So today we will be discussing one of the most popular serial bus protocols, which you are all familiar with, which you use it every day, which is known as the USB. USB is known as the Universal Serial Bus. Now, before we come into Universal Serial Bus, we have to think the prior to USB, what was happening. Okay, some of you might be familiar with the connector types, like the interfaces which you were using previously on your desktop. Say, for example, your mouse, the connector that you had used, it is known as PS bar 2. Okay, so that type of connector. Then you had a mouse is also connected in that way. So what happens is that when you actually go for different devices and which has different interfaces, you need to have such type of ports incorporated on those devices. So which was a very practical difficulty. So that is when the concept of USB came to be. Okay, something that was universal, a standard which can be used on every peripheral devices for connectivity. So that is when the USB came into being. Now it is very popular nowadays because it has very good features. It is expandable. It is fast. Although it is a serial transfer, but it is fast. It's bidirectional. It is low cost, and it is a plug and play. Okay, you all know what is a plug and play. It is very easy for you to connect it and disconnect it. There is very minimal installation required. Okay. Also, it allows users to connect a wide variety of peripherals because this is a universal standard which is used nowadays. Your mouse, your headphone, not headphones. Yeah, there are headphones with the USB. You have your keyboards like that with the USB interface. Okay. You have your phone chargers with micro USB and a USB adapter. So everywhere now USB is currently. You have different versions of USB that is being used. You have your Type A, Type B, Type C. Now I think in most of the charging equipments, other than iPhones, you have the C type. Okay. So when you talk about the history of USB, when things were very difficult at that time, 7 companies they had this thought set like say, okay, why don't we think about a universal standard? Now those 7 companies were Compaq, DEC, IBM, Intel, Microsoft, NEC, and Nortel. Okay, so these 7 companies in 1994 they started the development of USB. So in 1995, 340 companies formed the USB implementation forum, and in 1996, 500 USB products were already developed. Okay, so like that, in 2000, the USB 2.0, which is currently the current latest laptops and everything, they have USB 3.0 and 3.1. But most of your previous laptops and PCs and everything, they have the USB 2.0. Now that represents, it is there in most of the USB type devices. Then came the wireless USB WUSB, which uses the RF link to communicate. Then in 2008, USB 3.0 was introduced, which is 10 times faster. Then you have in 2013 3.1 USB, which is twice as fast as USB 3.0. Okay. Then in 2015, you had the USB Type C, which is currently used, which has a reversible type of connector. Okay. And also it is plug and play. You can connect it in both ways. Okay. Now, while talking about the standards and the speed, USB 1.0, which came in 1996, uh, it had a speed about 1.5 megabits per second for low speed devices and a maximum speed of 12 megabits per second. That was the same speed for the USB 1.1 also. Then in 2001 came the USB 2.0, which had 1.5 megabits per second for low speed. Then you had 12 megabits per second for full speed, and you have 480 megabits per second for high speed. Okay. Now in 3.0, the speed, it increased very much further. In 2011, USB 3.0 was released, and it had a speed of about 5 gigabits per second. You now currently USB 3.1, it has 10 gigabits per second. It is known as 3.0 it's also known as the super speed device. Okay. Then 3.1 and 3.2 version, which came in 2014 and 2017 respectively. Okay, they had 10 and 20 gigabits per second speed, and they are known as the super speed plus. Now currently the highest trend. Now using these devices, when you have a high speed, the power transfer is also very high, enabling you to charge better. Okay, that is how the fast charging came into being. Okay, now currently, the USB 4, which is known as the Thunderbolt. Okay, it is known as the Thunderbolt. It has a speed of 40 gigabits per second. Now, this particular Thunderbolt and the Gen 2 of the 3.1, they can provide 100 watts of power to your device, which helps you to fast charge. Okay. So this is a overall glance about what we had discussed currently. Okay. Now coming to the features, they have a single connector type. Okay, so that is what the USB, the main feature of USB is. So it has a standardized USB connector for all type of peripheral devices. Okay, now it is hot swappable, means it means that you can plug it easily, and it can be detected easily. It requires minimum installation, and you can unplug it. There is no need to reboot your particular system or device while it is running. Okay, same way for plug and play. Okay. Now, coming to the properties of USB connector, you are familiar with many type of connectors, which we will be seeing in the next slide. Okay. Now, the properties is their availability. Okay. Now, these USB connector types, in bulk, they have come into the market in 2010. So hence, what, the cost also reduced. Initially, when a new technology comes, the cost is very high. Now, once it starts to manufacture in bulk, and the manufacturing technology improves, so naturally you are able to receive your product in a much low cost way. Also, usability. Most connectors cannot be plugged in upside down. Now, the durability, you can depend on that. It is robust. Okay. Also compatibility, you have two-way communication possible. In USB 3.0, you have full duplex communication. Previously, you had half duplex. Now in 3.0, you have full duplex communication using the super speed transfer. Okay. Now these are the connector types. Okay. What you have to do is you have to keep in mind. You don't have to draw the diagram of the cable, but you have to see how the wiring is done. Okay. So that is how you differentiate. Okay. You have a type A micro A. Then you have type B, the micro is given down. Okay. Then you have mini A type. Then you have micro USB type, micro B USB type. Then you have type mini B, and also the current type C. Okay. So these are the different types. Now the type micro B is the one which you use in your previous chargers. You had the USB A type at one end and the type B at the other end. Now currently most of the chargers, they have the type C now. Okay. Now what are the advantages? Why it is so popular? Because it is self-configuring. Okay, because once you plug and play, it is automatically detected. It is hot swappable. So there is no need to adjust the settings or the interface for speed or data format or configure the interrupts. It's automatically done. And also the connectors are standardized. We discussed before, it is hot pluggable. And it defines protocols for improving reliability over previous interfaces, and also it recovers from common errors. Now, while installing a USB standard, the minimal operator action is required. Is required. So naturally, these are the advantages. But when you talk about advantages, when things become easy, there may be some disadvantages. Okay. Now, what are the disadvantages? One thing is, yeah, you have a serial transfer, you have a cable length is limited. Okay. So you can see you have 2 meter, you have 5 meter. Now ranging on the length of the cable, maybe the speed will also reduce. Also the topology, the connectivity, it is limited because you can only interact 2 devices at a time, or if you want master slave topology with multiple peripheral devices, what you have to do is you have to use a host. Okay. So that is the only way it can interact. Okay. Also, when you use high-speed peripheral devices, sometimes the USB standard may not comply. Okay. So not all high-speed devices can comply with the USB standard. Also, when things become easy, naturally, the other side where the developer of the product, he had a hectic work. The protocols that is implemented to make USB such a common standard, such a easier standard, the protocol is very complex. Also, regarding this particular last point, I am not that sure, but it is a set like USB logos. If you have to use the USB logo, it requires annual fee and also membership in the organization. Okay, so this is what I had to discuss about USB.